Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
In the mist-veiled highlands of East Africa, nestled among mountains cloaked in ancient fog and secrets, lies a country whose past defies the linear narratives of global history. Ethiopia, often romanticized for its rugged terrain and ancient churches carved from living rock, is not merely a footnote in the story of Christianity. It is a primary character. As the modern world continues to accept the standard tale that the Bible was first compiled and canonized in Roman Christian circles, often centering around the Councils of Nicaea and the scribes of Europe, Ethiopia presents a radically different and shockingly persuasive claim. In this narrative, the origins of the Bible are neither Roman nor Greek, but profoundly African. Ethiopia's claim to be the first to possess a complete written Bible predates many of the theological milestones commonly accepted in Western Christianity. While most scholars attribute the establishment of the biblical canon to the 4th century CE, particularly under the auspices of Emperor Constantine and the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, Ethiopian tradition asserts that their version of the Bible, written in the ancient Semitic Guizi language, not only predates this Roman effort, but was safeguarded in a land unspoiled by European political theologies. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church maintains a canon that is one of the largest and oldest in Christendom, including several books not found in Roman Catholic or Protestant versions. Their scriptures, encompassing the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, and 1 Maccabean, present a version of divine revelation that is distinctly African, ancient, and independent. The Ethiopian claim is not merely oral tradition or ecclesiastical pride. It is steeped in history, manuscripts, and centuries of uninterrupted Christian practice. Christianity took root in Ethiopia in the 4th century CE under King Ezana of Axum, making it one of the earliest nations to officially adopt Christianity as a state religion alongside Armenia. But crucially, Christian texts, traditions, and Jewish influence had already been circulating in Ethiopia for centuries prior to this. According to Ethiopian history, the Ark of the Covenant was brought to the land by Menelik I, the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon, centuries before the birth of Christ. This story, preserved in the Kebra Nagast, is not just religious lore. It is a cornerstone of Ethiopia's historical consciousness and identity. The Kebra Negast, the Glory of the Kings, written in Guizi sometime around the 14th century CE but based on far older oral and written traditions, recount how Menelik I returned to Ethiopia with the Ark of the Covenant and, with it, the divine presence of God. According to this text, the Solomonic lineage ruled over Ethiopia with divine legitimacy, linking the country directly to the Davidic line and establishing it as a second Zion. From this theological foundation, a deeply Judaic form of Christianity blossomed, one that would absorb the Gospels but preserve the ancient rituals of Hebrew tradition, including circumcision, dietary laws, and Sabbath observance. But the most astounding component of Ethiopia's religious legacy is its biblical canon. The Ethiopian Bible, written in Guizi on goatskin parchment and preserved in monasteries like those at Lake Tana and Axum, contains 81 books, compared to the 66 of the Protestant Bible and the 73 of the Catholic Bible. This version includes ancient Jewish texts such as the Book of Enoch, a scripture quoted in the New Testament by Jude but rejected by both the Catholic and Protestant churches. Remarkably, the complete Book of Enoch was lost to the Western world for centuries until a copy was rediscovered in Ethiopia in the 18th century and translated from Guizi into English in 1821. This discovery sent shockwaves through biblical scholarship, revealing that Ethiopia had preserved scriptures that Europe had long forgotten or dismissed. The Guizi Bible's significance lies not only in its breadth but in its antiquity. Guizi itself, an extinct South Semitic language, is older than Latin and continues to be the liturgical tongue of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Manuscripts discovered in the monasteries of Debra Damo, Lalibela, and the ancient city of Axum date back well over a millennium. Some texts are believed to have been translated from Hebrew and Greek into Guizi as early as the 5th century CE, though tradition holds that many were preserved in Ethiopia in earlier forms, shielded from Roman interference and theological pruning. This preservation was made possible by Ethiopia's unique geopolitical isolation. Unlike Egypt or the Levant, Ethiopia was never conquered by the Romans, and its form of Christianity developed autonomously, outside the influence of the Vatican or Constantinople. While Europe endured schisms, inquisitions, and reformations, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church remained largely undisturbed, faithfully preserving liturgies, icons, texts, and theological positions that had long vanished from Western Christianity. One of the most compelling archaeological validations of Ethiopia's scriptural heritage comes from the Garima Gospels, housed in the Abba Garima Monastery in northern Ethiopia. These manuscripts are believed to be the oldest surviving illustrated Christian texts in existence. Carbon dating places their origin between the 4th and 7th century CE, suggesting they may have been written around the same time or even earlier than many Western biblical manuscripts. According to monastic tradition, they were penned by Abba Garima, a Syrian monk who arrived in Ethiopia in 494 CE. Whether written in the 5th or 6th century, these Gospels demonstrate that biblical texts were already flourishing in Ethiopia in full manuscript form at a time when much of Europe was still assembling and arguing over the biblical canon. The implications of Ethiopia's claim to have authored, or at the very least preserved, the first complete Bible are monumental. It shifts the geographical and theological center of early Christianity away from Rome and Jerusalem and toward Africa. It suggests that the foundations of Christianity, both doctrinal and textual, may have been more diverse and decentralized than traditionally portrayed. Furthermore, it challenges modern assumptions about literacy, religion, and civilization in sub-Saharan Africa, revealing an intellectually and spiritually advanced society that maintained libraries of sacred text in the mountains of East Africa while Europe stumbled through its so-called Dark Ages. The history of the Ethiopian Bible is also a testament to resistance. Ethiopia, unlike most of Africa, was never colonized, successfully defeating the Italian invasion at the Battle of Adwa in 1896. This fierce independence is mirrored in its religious tradition, which remained resistant to Western Christian pressures to conform. When Jesuit missionaries arrived in the 16th century and attempted to correct Ethiopian doctrine to align with Rome, they were met with theological rebuttals and eventual expulsion. Ethiopia's Bible, its rituals, and its theology were not open to Roman revision. In a time when African contributions to global civilization are still routinely underappreciated, the Ethiopian Bible stands as irrefutable proof of Africa's central role in the history of Christianity. It is not merely an African version of a Western faith, it is one of Christianity's oldest expressions, written and preserved by Africans in Africa, long before Europe embraced the religion as its own. In peeling back the layers of Christian history, we find that the world's most influential book may not have been born in the marble halls of Rome or the dusty scroll rooms of Jerusalem, but a monastic stillness of Ethiopia's highlands. And in this ancient nation, older than many empires, undefeated by colonialism and steeped in spiritual mysticism, we may finally glimpse a different origin story of the Bible, one that defies Western chronology, recenters African genius, and restores a lost chapter in the sacred history of humanity.